Hi, I'm Ed Bacon, the rector of All Saints Church, Pasadena. Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on the journey of faith, I hope that you'll find something here that speaks to you. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I hate to interrupt. I know you really want to see me dance some more, but you'll just have to wait until some other time. We are here for the purpose of conducting the official business of All Saints Church, and I would like to begin with prayer. Would you please stand? God dwells in you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life. Fill the church with all truth, and in all truth with all peace. Where we are corrupt, purify us. Where we are in error, direct us. Where in anything we are amiss, reform us. Where we are right, strengthen us. Where we are in want, provide for us. Where we are divided, reunite us. For the sake of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Savior. Amen. Thank you very much. I call us to order and welcome you. And you have before you, please, welcome to all visitors. We are thrilled you're here. You have before you a lot of reports. I am really, really grateful and proud of this annual report, this glossy. It is a wonderful what is the word I'm trying to think? Exactly, thank you. Of what we did this past year. And it has all the names of people who are pledging units. And I love the back page that kind of is a wonderful walk down memory lane of all the great people we had during that fiscal year, that calendar year, to speak in the Rector's Forum. We need to move forward with, please, if you're taking this home with you, we need, please, for you to fill out this blue card and place it in the basket, and that will save us from mailing this to you. We will assume, if we don't have a blue card from you, that you need one of these in the mail, and you'll save us some postage if you give us that. Now, without further ado, the Junior Warden comes, the Senior Warden comes, I come back, and please warmly welcome Will Watts, our Junior Warden.
Good morning. As I stand before you today to appreciate my fellow Vestry members, I am inspired by the words of John O'Donohue, who begins his own blessing for retirement with a request that we look back with graciousness and thanks on all your great and quiet achievements. So it gives me great pleasure to take this moment to identify some of the many contributions, both quiet and great, made by these individuals, and to also share with you at least one of the characteristics that I have come to treasure about them. Certainly there are so many more attributes about them, but in the interest of time, I've elected to highlight only one that, oddly enough, begins with the same letter as his or her first name. So Vestry members, please stand briefly when I call your name, and I'd also like to ask that the audience hold your applause until the end of this portion of the program. First, there's Adichie Byerly. Over the last few years, Adichie has been a part of the prayer shawl ministry, the leadership team for our 1 p.m. Spanish service, and on the Best Practices Committee, whose work you will hear more about later this morning. In addition, she has represented All Saints at the Southern California Women's Health Conference and participated in Pasadena's annual homeless count. Last year, she served as a facilitator for the training sessions focusing on Reverend James Lawson's book, A Force More Powerful, something she has referred to as the most meaningful and significant spiritual experience for her in 2012. But for any of you who know Adichie, you are aware how much she encourages everyone she encounters. It is this quality, among others, that many of us greatly appreciate. Thank you, Adichie, for your service and for being such a source of encouragement. Next, there is Tori Detcher Brown. Tori has served as one of our youth members for the last 2 years, and when I reflect on her service, the word that first comes to mind is talented. She has demonstrated such talents both vocally, as part of our youth choir, and also as a thoughtful, dedicated, and bold young leader serving on the CYF committee, youth leadership team, as an alkalite, and as a diocesan convention delegate. She provides valuable contributions to our vestry meetings, and one of the things I treasure the most is that she continually manifests for us the heart, the faith, and character formed in children here at All Saints Church. Thank you, Tori, for sharing with us your many wonderful talents. Next, there is Dave Frick. I don't know if Dave is here with us today. I recall early on having many wonderful conversations with Dave and learning of his diligence regarding the peace and justice work that is at the core of our faith community. Whether we were discussing vestry resolutions about issues such as torture or other issues, Dave would help focus and enrich our discussions. His dedication to peace and justice work is reflected in serving as Peace and Justice Vestry Committee Chair and on a Peace and Justice Search Committee and the Rapid Response Team. He also developed and led the Rip from the Headline series and led the Ballot Propositions Forums. But he did not reserve his diligence solely for peace and justice work, as he also served on other committees, including the website task force, whose work paved the way for our current, more user-friendly website. So thank you, Dave, for your diligence. Next, there is Tim Hooten. When I was trying to select a characteristic for Tim, I wrestled with many different traits and eventually settled on thoughtful. Tim's thoughtfulness has manifested itself through many insightful comments that were often coupled with theology. In fact, such comments gave some of us what Ed would refer to as glory attacks. His thoughtfulness and commitment to CYF has been unparalleled, as reflected in his service on the CYF committee and on 3 CYF search committees, including the one that brought us Jamie Langell and the current search for our new CYF director. He also served on the Staff Transition Support Committee, helping new CYF staff members transition to their new roles here at All Saints, and was part of the team that developed the CYF Roadmap, the Best Practices Committee, and CYF's Parent Culture Group. Thank you, Tim, for your commitment to our families and for your thoughtfulness. Next is our Senior Warden, Jerry Puhara, who is one of the most devoted, generous, and hardest-working individuals I have had the pleasure to work with and to know, not only as a vestry member, but as a true friend. Throughout her time on vestry, she continued to be involved with the women's community, while also participating in numerous committees, including Incorporation and Growth, Best Practices, and the website task force, which she chaired. She also served on a discernment committee and has been an integral part of our homeless work through the Homeless Count, Union Station Feeding Ministry, and the Homeless Memorial Planning Committee. She has served the parish as the junior warden and currently a senior warden, during which time she has attended practically every ministry's meeting in the church. Amidst all of this, she also is serving as a co-facilitator for one of the 8 Habits of Love book groups, which is very fitting because she exemplifies the first habit of generosity by giving so much attention, time, care, spiritual support, and herself to this community. I am truly honored to have been able to serve as her junior warden. Thank you, Jerry, for your service, as we have all benefited from your generosity and having you as our senior warden. Next is Gertie Reagan Garner, who is not able to be here today. Gertie had previously served on vestry and as a veteran helped many of us newbies get acquainted with our new roles. When I think of Gertie, one of the first characteristics that come to mind is gracious. At all times, even in the midst of complex or tough financial discussions, Gertie is always gracious and insightful, giving us all great comfort that she is our finance chair. In addition to her valuable service on the Finance Committee, Gertie served on the Growth Committee, Best Practices Committee, and Economic Justice and Nonviolence Committee. She also has been a diocesan convention delegate. You can experience her graciousness on Sunday mornings when she is ushering. So if you are streaming us this morning, Gertie, thank you for your graciousness and for your leadership in ensuring the financial health of our parish. And last but not least is Mike Sheriff. When I first met him, there was something ministerial or pastoral about him. After hearing him speak, it was evident to me that Mike is a wise and deeply spiritual man. During his time on the vestry, he too served on numerous committees, including the Finance Committee, and in each meeting, his wisdom, candor, and pastoral presence helped to provide us with sound perspective. I think it is fair to say that the theological and biblical imperatives he offered were valuable to Ed and many of us sitting in the room within the sound of his voice. Thank you, Mike, for sharing your wisdom and ministerial presence with us these last 4 years. As you can see, this retiring class embodies the essence of All Saints Church. So now that we have taken a moment to look back with graciousness on their great and quiet achievements, please join me in thanking each one of them for their service. And now I'll turn the floor over to our Senior Warden, Jerry Puhara.
Before I introduce you to the new vestry, let me appreciate one more retiring vestry member, and that's my junior warden, Will Watts. He didn't want to talk about himself. Could you stand up for a second, Will, so everybody knows who you are, in case they didn't? Okay. I'll talk more about Will later, but suffice it to say, he's been tireless in his work around All Saints, and I think, I'm just going to make this up on the spot, but willing might be the right word for him. Will is an attorney serving the homeless for the Office of Public Counsel. His commitment to the poor and the disenfranchised is a model for all of us. His 8-year-old son is the light of his life, and it's always a joy for me to see them together. In his brief 5 years at All Saints, Will has served on Peace and Justice Search Committee twice, Peace and Justice Vestry Committee, Stewardship Campaign Team Leader, Stewardship Witness, participated in the Pasadena Homeless Count, Homeless Memorial Planning Committee, Legal Resources Ministry Co-Chair, my junior warden. He also is an 8 Habits co-facilitator, and we serve together on a discernment committee. Will and I have been great buddies since we met in our first vestry orientation meeting, and I've been so fortunate that he agreed to serve with me as junior warden. Thank you so much for all that you've meant to me this year. Let's hear it for Will. Now, our new vestry members. We have a fabulous class this year that we're all very proud of. If you could please stand briefly when I call your name, and then you can sit down, and we'll give you a round of applause at the end, just like we did before. Lauren Heckman is our youth member of the vestry. She's been at All Saints for 16 years, which is her entire life. Her parents, Carol and John, actually met in a committee at All Saints, which was chaired by another new vestry member, Betsy Perry, so what goes around comes around. At All Saints Church, she's been an acolyte and former choir member, and she is a student at Flint Ridge Prep, where she's president of the City of Hope Club. She's on the volleyball team. She works on her school's newspaper and plays junior varsity soccer. So, Betsy Perry has been here since 1966. Her husband's name is Ralph. She has 2 grown children, Katie and Dan, plus 6 grandchildren. She's a retired history professor from Occidental College, and her All Saints Church activities include being the co-founder of AdLib Feminist Study Group, the co-founder of the Labyrinth Ministry, co-founder of the Interfaith Study Group, chaired the Women's Spirituality Group, member of the Prayer Shawl Ministry, and she was a fabulous presenter at the Women's Community Spiritual Retreat last year. She's also a spiritual director through Still Point. Carlos Carrillo has been at All Saints for 9 years. He lives with his partner, Rodney. He's an educational programs manager for the nonprofit called Uncommon Good. He's currently completing his Bachelor of Science degree in nonprofit management from the University of Laverne. His All Saints Church program involvement includes the 1 p.m. Service Steering Committee, Peace and Justice Committee. Community involvement includes La Plaza de la Cultura y Arte, United Farm Workers Foundation, and American Red Cross, health and safety instructor. Jeanette Miyamoto. Jeanette started attending All Saints Church in 2000. She has one son, Benjamin, who's a freshman at Oberlin College in Ohio. She's a leadership development consultant for Kaiser Permanente. Her All Saints involvement includes she's in her fourth year of EFM, has been an usher. She chaired the giant garage sale for Katrina victims in 2005, which is where we first met, and she got me into all this trouble. She's been the Children's Choir Parent Committee, Covenant Group Leader, and past chair of Women's Committee twice. Liz Trussell is a member of All Saints for 39 years. Her family, her husband's going, oh my. Her family includes her husband Rhodes, her son Shane and his wife Celine, and their 2 children, her son Brian and his wife Lindy, who have a new baby girl. Her occupation is general counsel for their family business in Pasadena, Trussell Technologies. Her All Saints program involvement includes being a covenant leader, usher captain, head usher, former vestry member, small group leader, stewardship co-chair, finance committee, discernment committee, and she's currently co-chair of the Capital Campaign. Her community involvement includes the Pasadena Planning Commission, Redistricting Task Force, and she's the vice chair currently of Union Station Homeless Services. Thank you. Rick Davis. Is Rick here? Okay. Rick has been at All Saints since 1998. His family includes his partner Barry Ward and 2 sons, Terrence and William. He's the Western Regional Director for the Lambda Legal Defense and Education Fund. His All Saints Church program involvement includes chair of CYF, new member class, acolyte coordination, mentoring, discernment, and search committees, and he served a former term on the vestry. And finally, Jason Lyon has been at All Saints for 10 years. His family includes his husband Tim Hartley and a son Noah. He's a lawyer with Latham & Watkins. His All Saints activities include new member class, group leader, baptism parents class, group leader, leadership class. He's really a leader. His community involvement includes co-chair of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, City of LA East Area Planning Commission, City of LA Neighborhood Council Review Commission, and the Silver Lake Reservoir Conservancy Board, all of which are difficult to say. There you have our wonderful vestry candidates. If you all would just stand, let us give you all a hand. We're in good hands.
Liza Billington is sitting on the front row also. As you probably know, that when a vestry member retires early and leaves an unexpired term, it is canonically the prerogative of the rector to appoint someone to fill that unexpired term. And I've happily appointed Liza Billington to fill that term. She is an attorney, has served ably on the leadership project, has been in a leader of a discernment group, is co-leading one of the 8 Habits of Love groups, and many other things. Her 2 children have come up through the ranks of our CYF program. She was what's comparable to Senior Warden in another church of another denomination, which can go unnamed. And it gave me great pleasure to both prepare her and her husband Corey for their marriage and to preside over it, where we had our first ever in the history of Christianity Eucharist. He played the ukulele during the Eucharist, and it was absolutely stunning. So I'd like to welcome Liza Billington to the vestry. I think I said she's an attorney. I love to be around attorneys of faith. So these candidates Jerry introduced to you are not yet members of the vestry. That must take place right now through your election. We've filed all of this in canonical style so that you could give us any nominations from the floor. We did not receive any, and so we have these candidates to present to you after a long and careful deliberative discernment on behalf of the Vestry Nominating Committee. We don't need a second, but I do need a motion that we elect these people. Thank you very much. Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. You are elected unanimously. Thank you very much, new Vestry members. Usually we're situated in the other orientation, and it's easier for me to give a deep bow to my colleagues on the staff. But I hope that you will understand that these beautiful, brilliant, intelligent folks arrayed to your left of the podium there are the members of the All Saints staff, most of them. They are the hardest working staff in the history of religion. They are the brightest, they are the best, they are thrilling. I only hire people who are smarter than I am, so you can see that they are brilliant people. Would you please warmly welcome the staff of All Saints Church. Thank you very much, and thanks, colleagues, for being here this morning. You all have the rest of the month off. Not. Several years ago, the convention of the Diocese of Los Angeles canons changed so that no longer could the vestry elect the diocesan convention delegates, but they had to be elected at the annual meeting. So we place before you all of these people who are in alphabetical order. Things oftentimes switch around, so it's really no need to identify at this point who will be a delegate and who will be an alternate. But these are people who like to go, who make a real contribution when they go to Diocesan Convention this coming December. And so, again, I need a nomination. Thank you. Any questions or comments? I did not pay Danny to be my nominator today. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those people are elected unanimously. I'd also like to say that this meeting, we can't do all of our business in one 45-minute period. We must have two meetings. The second meeting will be in March. March what? 10. So please come back, and that's when we'll take a look forward, and I'll give a state of the parish address, and we'll talk about the 2013 financials. But now to talk about the 2012 financials is our incoming finance chair, subbing for Gertie Regan-Garner, who's in Germany this morning. Will you please warmly welcome Kathy Kegg?
Good morning. You're tall. I just want to make a few quick points as the warm-up act for Gertie's full report at our next meeting, March 10th. First and foremost, pledge revenue was higher than budgeted. Yay. This is primarily due to the fact that our delinquency rate was a record low of 4.35%. We had anticipated a 6% delinquency, which is pretty average for the last several years. So we did a remarkable job of meeting our commitments this year. That's very, very good news. Unfortunately, our special gifts were below what we had anticipated. But after you do all of the math, we had significant savings in both personnel and rebates from health insurance. So we had a bit over $200,000 as a carryover for this year's budget. We have no debt, no mortgage payments, no short-term loans, nothing. We are in the black and ready to go. And because I have the microphone, I'm going to say a couple of other things. As of this moment, we have a dozen more families pledging for 2013 than we had at this time last year. However, the level of pledging overall has actually gone down. Families are still struggling as our economy is making its slow recovery. Some of our largest donors had to make a smaller pledge because of the economic uncertainty. Others have left the area, and of course, still others have passed away. So we have the glorious news of new members in our All Saints family and the economic reality that money is very tight. 25% of our income comes in December. Many of our families pay their entire pledge in December. Some of us are behind and catch up in December, and 1,000 other reasons that December is the month of miracles. And we're blessed with that. We were blessed with that miracle again this past December, allowing us to end in the black. Let me be clear, it's not really a miracle. It's the historic pattern of giving and a lot of hard work from both the rector and the stewardship office. At the same time we're working on the December miracle, we are calculating what the budget will look like for the coming year. About 75% of our budget goes to personnel. We have committed ourselves to a living wage for all staff, especially our custodial and support staff, and we have been unable to give a permanent cost of living increase since 2007. And because it is the largest part of our budget, it is the place we are most likely to make cuts. There simply is no other place to cut. We're working on the February miracle right now. If you're so inclined, an additional $5 a week or even $5 a month will make a big difference. Thank you for all you do to make this community what it is. Your generosity continues to be inspirational. Thank you.
And just in time for her to get her entire speech in, it is time for our Senior Warden address for the year. I'll have more to say about Jerry and my State of the Parish address next week. But suffice it to say that you and I have been very well led in this past year, with Jerry Warden being our Senior Warden. A businesswoman, a woman of deep faith, who never misses an opportunity to worship, a woman who prayerfully enters all of her decisions and really is careful about the details of all of the ministries of this place, and someone who's given impeccable support to me. I would love for you to warmly welcome Jerry Puhara, our retiring Senior Warden.
Okay, this is a beta test here. Okay, hold on one second.
Oh, we want your password.
Okay, unfortunately this has to be set every time. Okay, thank you, Ed. And thanks all of you for coming today. It's so good to see so many familiar faces in the audience. And welcome to all of those who might be streaming at home. You're really hardcore. Our annual, if you're watching our annual meeting. I love to take photographs, so I decided I would share some of them with you today to illustrate my speech. Instead of a state of the parish, this is going to be my view of the parish. I really wanted this speech to be about all of you and your compassion and your service to God's mission that I've seen visiting the many ministries here at All Saints during my years as junior and then senior warden. I love this mural painted by the children during summer camp, so I made it my image for the many thank yous that I wish to express. First, let me thank all of you in my All Saints family. This has been an incredible honor serving in leadership for the past 4 years. It's been one of the richest experiences of my life and allowed me to meet so many more of you, and for that I'm deeply grateful. I want to thank our rector, Ed Bacon. It's been an honor to watch you work, to sit at a table with you, to watch you masterfully lead this church that we all love. I continually marvel at the energy with which you take on so many challenges and work so hard to bring the true meaning of love into our world. Thank you, Ed. I'd also like to thank my junior warden, Will Watts, once again, for his partnership, his friendship, his brilliance, his counsel, and for always calling us to a higher and usually more difficult place in our deliberations. Will never takes the easy way out. Again, it's been so wonderful to have you by my side, Will. Thank you. Thanks to the entire All Saints staff, especially Maren and Christina, who are the heartbeat of all things Vestry and Warden. It's no small task to keep us informed and scheduled for this important work, and you've done it masterfully. Lastly, I want to thank my husband, Russell Ferrante, over there. He has forgiven me my absence, and he's shown me love and support throughout these last several years. Thank you, Russ. Now, Kathy did such a great job, I probably don't have to go into this in detail, but I did want to reinforce one thing, and that is, in 2013, we're facing a gap between what we need to avoid cuts in our budget and what's been pledged so far. So, because I'm not much for numbers, I'm a lot more for pictures, I asked last year's Senior Warden Charlie Riley to give me a picture that visually represented the household earnings disparity over time. So this picture, with all these little squiggly arrows, represents the recent median household income growth in the United States. As you can see from this graph, those at the top are doing quite well in the economy, but 80% of real income is declining or stagnant. This picture I like so much because it illustrates the stories that I have heard over the past few months as I called parishioners to touch base about their pledges. Over all the years that I've made these calls, I have not encountered so many who are still suffering hardship financially, professionally, and personally in the parish. As in the past few years, we hope the generous donations of those doing well will continue and help to offset the declines or loss of income experienced by the others. This has been a year of transition, and like today's gospel, transformation. We said goodbye to 3 of our beloved priests this year, Wilma, Carissa, and Abel, all who went on to an exciting new beginning in their lives. We welcome Francisco Garcia as our new Director of Peace and Justice. He's hit the ground running with his energy, his enthusiasm, and formidable organizing skills. Welcome, Francisco, wherever you are. I can assure you that our Children, Youth, and Family Search Committee is well on its way towards selecting a candidate who will not only lead children, youth, and families, but also education and faith development for all of us. In a year of so many staff transitions, our rector decided that we should spend some time discerning the needs of All Saints as we grow into the future. A committee of vestry members, current and former wardens, was formed to study the best practices in the area of growth, communications, children, youth, and families, and the important work of engaging and inviting parishioners to find their unique place at All Saints Church. This year, the work of this task force will be shared and processed with the entire vestry at our vestry staff conference in March entitled Reorganization for Transformation. Got that right. Now, one of the concepts that became really important through this process of our research was the distinction between All Saints as a public church and a parish church. All Saints is both, as you know, but we're best known for our work as a public church, working to bring our values into a broad public arena, shining a light where God's mission is at work, but the presence of the body is most lacking. What follows is a brief survey of some of the work of our public church. This community rally against gun violence was held on the steps of All Saints Church following the shootings in Newtown and a Christmas shooting in Pasadena. You can see the power of this moment, which drew a large multicultural and interfaith crowd, as our rector called upon the community for action through his prayer. A standing room only crowd attended the community forum on gun violence. Breakout groups matched volunteers with actions that could be taken. The huge attendance sent an army of committed individuals out into the community, energized to stand up and take action. In January of 2012, All Saints celebrated the 20th anniversary of our first same-sex blessing by our former rector, George Regas. Because Susan Russell has worked so hard to bring about the exponential changes that we have seen this year, I asked her to recap 2012 for me. She said, 9 states now recognize same-sex marriage. President Obama's evolving position on marriage equality made it into his inaugural address. And the Supreme Court will rule this year on Prop 8 and the Defense of Marriage Act. It's been quite a year. A new civic engagement ministry has put boots on the ground in the struggle for economic justice, and our economic justice and nonviolence committees are hard at work strategizing our role in this new economy. Our action table has done everything from directly affecting public policy to brightening the hearts of prisoners in solitary confinement. I was so touched when Virginia Classic showed me a note full of hope written by a solitary confinement prisoner after receiving a letter from All Saints. I wanted to share it with you. A parishioner reached out to me with a card and heartwarming words. I wish to thank you for your actions to end prolonged solitary confinement. This is wonderful. Director of Peace and Justice, wow. I never knew a church that was that serious about social justice, and one that has a female priest. In December, All Saints hosted the Muslim Public Affairs Council. In a controversial act of interfaith solidarity, hundreds attended the all-day sessions, and a new season of interfaith cooperation was launched as we became the first Christian church to host this convention. And everyone should join us here. I think you all saw this video as you were coming in. We're going to join billions of people throughout the world to dance and demand an end to violence against women. Check out this video if you didn't get to see it here today. It's gone viral on the internet. All of this and so much more contribute to our important role in our world as a large public church. Of equal importance to all of us is our parish church, the community of All Saints staff and parishioners who worship together, support each other in times of need, provide pastoral care, and help each other find paths to discipleship. There are many who feel that this part of our church may not get as much attention as the public church, and the rector and vestry are working to change that perception. We realize the public church brings people to us, but ultimately we need to energize and engage these new members into our community. The departure of 3 staff created a place for a new congregational development associate position. This person will have the role of designing systems for volunteer and ministry coordination, help newcomers discern their path in the church, and oversee all areas of parishioner engagement and tracking. Here in community, we find profound connections with the sacred and with each other. We put our faith into action in quiet, personal ways that support the least of these. We support our families, our youth, and nourish our souls in worship. What follows is a brief view of just a few of those ministries that I've visited. There's nothing so close to our hearts as the children of our church. They are the future as well as the playful spirit of our today. The Children, Youth, and Families Ministry has grown and flourished in the past 2 years with new staff and ever-increasing participation of parent volunteers. In May of last year, we celebrated our first ever CYF Rectors Forum with a presentation of the new Roadmap for Children and Youth at All Saints. The Roadmap is a document that follows the educational and spiritual formation journey of our children from birth through high school. It was 6 years in the making and culminated in a day of education and celebration with our children's ministry, complete with our children's choir. I'm so proud that All Saints Church has so many programs to feed the hungry and bring care to those in need. Gathering together to prepare and serve a meal creates deep and profound friendships among the parishioners, and it brings warm food, dignity, and love to many who do not easily find that in their daily lives on the streets. 2 weeks ago, our contemplative service was extended to an entire contemplative weekend. Thursday, we gathered to hear theologian John Philip Newell. On Saturday, our campus was transformed into small sacred spaces where we could sit, meditate, pray, or read. Our chancel and Sweetland Hall had a labyrinth for walking and meditating. Spiritual advisors were on hand, and people spent all day on campus. On Sunday, we celebrated a beautiful Celtic contemplative liturgy in the evening. And I'd like to especially thank Zelda for all her efforts to make this weekend so remarkably beautiful and meaningful. Zelda here? I don't know. Yeah. Sizable heritage bequests last year allowed us to go forward with long-delayed and critically needed maintenance on our leaky roof, electric vault, and our beloved stained glass windows, which now sparkle with the spirit of generosity. Now, yes, this is Will Watts posing as a legal resource client. I didn't want to ask any of the actual people there to be in a picture, so Will obliged. We have a new legal resource clinic partnering with Public Counsel, which provides teams of lawyers from our parish available to community members who cannot afford a lawyer, and that is Liza Billings. In April, Bob Wilson will become your new Senior Warden, and you will be ably led by Bob and his new Junior Warden, Nancy Naker. Tonight, Bob's going to be leading our new class of 50 people entering our All Saints new member class. He looks pretty good there. We celebrated what I call a brand new do-it-yourself stewardship event, especially for the attendees of our 1 o'clock Spanish service. Saturday was a community day of tamale making for all, taught by our new vestry member, Carlos Carrillo. Sunday was a fabulous feast on the patio with music, dancing, and tamale eating. It was festive, authentic, and I loved every minute of being there. And so did some of our other staff. Our rector and Zelda were in good form, showing off some of their fine dance moves. We had other new ministries in 2012, including the transportation ministry, the theater ministry, spiritual directors, and so many more that I can say the Parish Church is alive. And we have a lot of work to do to make sure that everyone who comes through our doors finds their way to connect, engage, enter the heart of our ministries, and deepen their faith. Now, I just want to highlight a few events that defy all categories. After 5 years of work with the City of Pasadena, our day finally came, and the master plan for our new building was approved unanimously by Pasadena City Council. There were over 30 citizens speaking the night of approval, and it was truly All Saints history. Special thanks to Bob Long and Liz Trussell for their brilliant and innovative leadership. 2 weeks ago, the Design Commission actually passed our design by a vote of 7-2, so we're on our way. Now there are few words to describe this photo better than the Pasadena Star-News report, which said, "For standing his civic center ground over a controversial church expansion, All Saints Rector Ed Bacon has been named this year's Thorny Rose, the Doodah Parade's annual tribute to the biggest pain in the collective civic neck." And in conclusion, is there anyone here who doesn't know that Ed wrote a book? He is everywhere. I took this picture at a newsstand at Foxy's Diner in Altadena. We're so proud of you, Ed. and we're filled with a sense of possibility for your new beginning as an author. So this ends my view of All Saints Church through the eyes of the warden, but it's also the beginning of one other thing, and that is, it's the beginning of Ed's 65th birthday and 42nd anniversary week, and I'd like us to finish up with a little birthday cheer for our rector. Can I have our...
Happy birthday to you. Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ed. Happy birthday to you. Thank you all very much.
Let's thank Jerry Puhara for an absolutely fantastic presentation. And right on time. So the whole idea is you come back March 10 for the second part, and we have plenty of time for questions and answers. Now we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.